have the girth on. And the only other problem that I'm seeing is that basically what we have going is the balance, and this is something that's really hard to see, but the balance is a little bit high in the front, so it's kind of like a little high in the front, so it's kind of like putting you back here. So the balance should be about right there.
What kind of effects does that kind of sitting back there have on the horse over long term? Like, I mean, do they end up needing injections? What happens? Because you're constantly crunching down on the back with that saddle. What happens?
I think it's in the rider. I think the rider becomes not efficient because basically they're always falling back, and so they just can't keep up with the horse. The horse wants them to be, right behind their shoulders, so they just are like behind the motion all the time. So as the horse goes, they just fall back. Okay, so the biggest problem with this one is, again, we have no pressure whatsoever in the back, and so that's where the problem is. So there's something with it in the front that's just not right. And so basically, I'm going to make the girth a little tighter to make sure, but maybe something like that. But even if I do, it doesn't matter. I can't lift it up as much, but still, I shouldn't be able to get my hand under here. It should be equal pressure from front to back.
So when you're at home, you do the same exercise and see where your hand falls on the front and the back to make sure that it's
so
even.
If you do it together, if you put both hands in there together, it should be almost the same amount of pressure in the back and the front at the same time.
Super. And what are you going to do to change that?
Well, let me take the saddle off and I'll. So we think, actually, the problem is that because of the shape of the horse, this area right here has no flocking in it at all. And so there's no flocking in here, and so basically it's just up here. So we have a horse that's really wide and just has a really nice back, but unfortunately we're just putting the flocking up here, so there's nothing down here. So what happens is that when it actually allows the it allows the saddle to go forward on that, because it causes a pivot point like right about here.
Does that like pinch her shoulder then?
Well, it just comes over in the front, so it will pinch your shoulders in the front. So if you look at it, there's like no flocking in here, and so basically her shape would be actually the wrong way. So in other words, the horse's back goes like this, not like this. And so that's the problem. So in here, it's just, there's too much flocking in here and not enough flocking here. The flocking has to go from here over to here. And once that happens, it'll just go right around her.
So you don't just pump up the back where it's not sitting. You have to figure out where on the back
Exactly.
it needs to be fixed. That's
Because
a
you
big
could never get enough in the back. But you can see, look, shoot the thing down here. You can actually see it. So right in here, it's just too heavy. So basically, if it was over there.
wearing mark there too.
Yeah, right in here.
Can you see it?
It doesn't follow the shape of the horse.
It doesn't follow the shape of the
Now-
horse.
We're going to come back and look at this saddle after you work on it. How
Great.
long does it take to do it? As long as it takes?
Well, there's a girl had a really good job one time, and I said, "How did you get such a good job?" She goes, "I can type 140 words a minute." And I said, "So what does that make you have a good job?" She said, "Well, I can put the stuff in the computer and take it out 3 times before you even put it in once." So I think maybe a half hour for me, maybe longer, but that would be me.
Super. And how often do you have to check your saddle, and possibly how often do you have to make changes?
Okay, so here's the thing. So basically, if you're riding, just get that out of the way. If you're riding with, even if you ride with a half pad or whatever, once in a while, if you just put a regular pad on, basically, when you get done riding and you get the horse in a full training exercise and he actually is completely sweaty or whatever, you're going to take the saddle off, and basically the saddle is actually going to show you the actual saddle will actually put a mark on the horse's back. And so basically it should be the same dryness on the whole thing, so you should actually see the whole saddle on the horse's back. And so if you're getting that, then it really doesn't need anything. And so if you're not getting that, then you may have to think about what you want to do and actually to get that. So that's actually the most important part of it.
Thanks, Marty. We're gonna come back and just see your saddle.
Change the flocking in the saddle, and now the saddle is staying down in the back, and basically it appears to be fitting better. So basically the next thing is to test ride it and see if we have good sweat pattern, and then we'll be good.
Excellent. Looks great. That looks, you can see it. It's not pinching
Yeah,
her.
And it's staying down. So yeah, it looks good.
Awesome, Marty. Thank you so much.
Thank
This
you.
has been so helpful.
Okay, are you done?